Hi everybody, it's Jen and you're very welcome back to Law Hero. Today we are going to be discussing the holy mecca, the holy grail of commercial awareness. And this is a term that just spooks the bejesus out of everybody before they go for training contract interviews. And I know during COVID-19 there's not a lot of recruitment going on, but things are going to pick up. And look, the best thing you can do is just watch a few of my videos, take some notes, and be ready for when the tide turns, especially in 2021 when things start picking up again. There will be recruitment. I have so many people write to me and say, Jen, my training contract's in jeopardy or my internship's in jeopardy, and that may be so. And as Gary Vaynerchuk always says, you may not have money, but you have time. And there's countless resources out there which will allow you to become a better lawyer. For example, YouTube. I mean, you can literally YouTube, you can research YouTube for any legal topic and understand it, understand how the process works, understand the legal landscape, and arm yourself with information. But of course, there is a knowledge fallacy, or Socratic fallacy as they call it, that you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't apply it, it is basically redundant. So ideas without execution are just illusion. And all of that rhetoric is great in theory, but what does that actually mean in practice? And commercial awareness is one of those rhetorical kind of phrases that people understand in the abstract, but in practice it has quite a different meaning and can actually mean the difference between you can lose a lot of money if you get it wrong. The issue comes initially because lawyers are trained initially as academics. Most people complete a higher level education degree which is based around an academic tradition. For example, I went to UCC and I studied law and German. There is no practical element unless you do some sort of internship or you do some sort of practical law module as part of your degree. But we all know that doing a degree is an academic venture. It's supposed to be an academic venture. It's not supposed to be practical. So you study in this tradition, and then you come out 4 years later and you've been taught to think in a certain way. You've been taught to rationalize your thoughts in a certain way when it comes to applying the law, and it is not always the most helpful or the most relevant if somebody needs to make money quickly or if somebody needs to make a decision quickly. And then you have this gap between what people know and what people actually do. And commercial awareness is kind of like the glue or the verge between those two, and it is something that definitely comes with experience, but you can certainly arm yourself before you go to a training contract interview with some knowledge. Now, some people say, oh, read the Financial Times or read the Irish Times, read the business section. This is always what I hear. Read the business section of a newspaper. And we all know that that's just not the full solution to the problem, and I'll tell you why. Basically, what newspapers report are case studies of big transactions, and big transactions, they seem real obvious when you read them. Okay, you two pharmaceutical companies merged because both of you had different technologies which will bring about synergies. Synergies is a word you always hear when it comes to mergers and acquisitions. Synergies basically means that you both have something when joined together is better than what you had before. Simple. And that's grand, but the ones who actually decided that, the ones who looked at the brass tacks of it, were probably financial advisors when they looked at the profit and loss of each company, when they looked at the technology of each company, and none of that is legal. That's the problem here. These are not legal questions. The merging of two companies, the facilitation of that is done by legal advisors, but the actual logic or rationale behind it is always commercial, and commerciality is based on making a profit, and here the profit is from selling something, hoping to maintain the price but reducing the cost of making it by merging the two companies. Again, that is not something we are trained in, but at the same time we're expected to understand that rationale. So how do you actually learn commercial awareness if you're not exposed to it? Well, as I always say, the best thing to do is get legal experience, because once you get legal experience, you get close to clients and you can watch their decision-making process. I think, look, I'm just saying from my own point of view, I did not read the Financial Times or the Irish Times or the business section of the Independent. I don't even know, because I don't enjoy media, and that's just me. Did it make me less commercial? Maybe, but to me commerciality is thinking logically about making a profit, and I think if you frame it like that, it's much easier. My father's a butcher, and I grew up helping him sell meat, and he often brought me with him to the shop or when he was delivering meat, and I would watch him sell. I would watch how much meat he was selling per pound or per euro, and I would look to see if he would add value. I'd look to see if the customers were loyal, and I would look to see the business process, and that probably helped me a lot with commerciality. That's not to say that you have to have a parent who's in business to be able to do business. A lot of the time, if you just observe your surroundings, so you know, when you go to a shopping centre to do shopping, you can think to yourself, okay, that shop, they have to pay rates, they have to pay a lease, they have to pay their staff is their biggest overhead more than likely, because okay, if you think about it logically, you have to pay at least minimum wage in Ireland, but most people are going to be over that, especially if they have a few years experience, and that's going to be more than the rent and commercial rates. So obviously staff must be the biggest overhead, and if you have a few people, that's going to be a big dent in your trading income. And then you ask yourself, okay, well, what's the point in paying rent if I have to pay out this massive income? So maybe I'd be better off going online and do a Jeff Bezos of it and have everything on Amazon, and just have warehouses where people package and deliver things rather than be on a shop front. But then if I'm on a shop front, I have more exposure to the public. These are the kind of things that are not legal. These are commercial. And this is called commercial awareness. And when I say look around you, that's what I mean by awareness. Now, I have a chapter in my book called How to Get a Training Contract in Ireland. And if you go to that chapter called Skills of a Great Lawyer, I talk about all the different soft skills. So there's a difference between soft skills and hard skills, which you can learn. And one of the soft skills I recommend as part of that, and commercial awareness is only one, like this, for example, attention to detail, adaptability, resilience, self-confidence, creativity, people skills. That is, you know, one of the things that you pick up over time. It's not really teachable. That's why it's called a soft skill. You harness it over time by kind of observation or osmosis, whereas like a hard skill is like learning how to do maths or learning how to input data into an Excel spreadsheet. The other thing you have to understand as well is the actual business of law. There's two separate sides to commercial awareness, and a potential employer is looking to see what your understanding is of both, because down the line, if you do become a partner and you do become somebody who generates business, you need to know when to take on a client who will generate business for you in the future, will generate like an extension of that business by virtue of who they are, or if it's just a once-off client that will break your heart, as in you do the work for them, they are unresponsive, they don't pay you, and there's really going to be no leads from doing that work. There's going to be no spin-off work. The essence of business is repeat business, and in the law or the legal services industry, the best partners are able to intuitively sniff out repeat business. And they do this by making connections with different clients. And everybody knows how this works. You schmooze the client. If the client likes you, they're going to be more than likely to give you the work again or tell their friend that you were a nice person. That's the business side of law. When it comes to being commercially aware, when you go for a job interview, what kind of things are they looking for? Okay, this is countering the law firms' need, want, modus operandi to make a profit. So you need to strike a balance. You need to assist them. You need to add value yourself in the service you're offering as a lawyer, but at the same time you must assist the client in keeping costs low. And it's like a tightrope between the client and the law firm, and you need to straddle this the whole time. And it is one thing people really don't tell lawyers, junior lawyers, about at the very start, but something I've observed is very interesting. Understand the business of your client. Like, I'm trying to understand, I don't know anything about the Happy Pair, but I'm just trying to think what they had to go through to get to where they are. When they do come across some type of a legal issue, that you're better prepared to give an answer that's not based on the law, that's first based on the commerciality of what's happening. Then you apply the law, so you're not putting the cart before the horse to facilitate. And it sometimes won't always work, and you might have to rethink something. For example, the law might just not facilitate that idea you have right now. And I mean, 9 times out of 10 it will, unless you have some like crazy idea that is completely uncouth. Like, for example, what the Chinese are trying to do with tracking people's facial recognition in public, and you know, ranking people based on whatever their credit scores or their educational background, or, you know, socioeconomic background. Like, that's in the EU, that would be grossly discriminatory, and also there'd be massive data protection, privacy, human rights issues. So there's one example of your idea, which might be very commercial and might be very handy for a government or whatever entity wants to impose it, but legally it's just not unsound, and it's not going to work. So like that's just some far out example of something that wouldn't work against. Especially if you get a case study, you're going to have a few competing interests, and you need to be able to call it out, rationalize it, say, yeah, okay, you want to make a profit, we can get you this far, but we can't get you to flesh-eating robots. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on commercial awareness. I hope I didn't waffle too much, but I hope I tried to explain it as best I could. No, I did explain it as best as I could. I don't think I can do any better in this moment. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and make sure you're following me on Law Hero on Instagram, and please subscribe if you haven't. Thank you very much.